good, everybody? It is your boy Super Saiyan Cat back with another video for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the top 10 ults that I would like to see get a buff in the upcoming DLC with DLC Pack 7 coming out and the skill fixes and all that, which I cannot wait for. I'm absolutely hyped for that. Hopefully it will bring Xeno back to its just glory that it had before people got sick of the lag and all the nonsense that the game also had. But before we get into this video, guys, just want to say, one, how hyped I am for the new Jump Force. Cannot wait for this game. Be sure to share your hype with me down below in the comments. And if you did miss that video where I talked about the gameplay discussion, where I broke down some of the screenshots, be sure to check that out. I'll have that link down below in the description. And stay tuned for another reaction to some gameplay, the Kaioken Goku gameplay and all that. I did a reaction to that for you guys, so stay tuned for that as well. But that's enough talking from me. Let's jump straight into this video, again talking about the 10 ults I would like to see get a buff, because in my opinion they really need some help. Alright guys, we're going to get this started off talking about the strike ults, and the first strike ult that comes to my mind when I think of buff is Time Skip Molotov. As you see right there, 4,596 damage with a build that has 125 strike and a QQ bang that is giving a +5 boost as well. That is just absolutely pathetic to only get 4,596 damage, especially since this move costs 5 bars of ki. Now, there's two ways that they could buff this move potentially. One way, they could either make it cost 3 bars of ki and keep the damage exactly the same. That would honestly be pretty good. But at the same time, if they did that, the move would still be very useless because of the damage output. So honestly, what I think they need to do is drop it to about 3 bars of ki, but only increase the damage to about 6,000, 6,500 in total or something like that, to where it is actually a usable ult that people will be actually looking forward to use. Even though the damage isn't the greatest, it still has an extremely dope animation, and it doesn't cost you 5 bars of ki. Like, 5 bars of ki is for some people all they have, or more than some people have, depending on their QQ bang and build. So that's definitely way too much ki. So I would like to see this move cost 3 bars of ki along with a slight damage buff to it, to make it more attractive, to where more people would actually love to use the move. But that's everything for this move. Now let's move on to number 2. Alright guys, the second move I want to talk about today on the strike ult side is Burning Spin. This is a move at the release of the game was extremely OP, so it had a major nerf done to it, but they nerfed it to the point where the move is basically pretty useless. Nobody really wants to use it. There's so many better strike ults out there now. Again, this move has really become useless. Now, if you were to say get every single hit and just constantly stay on your opponent, which is sometimes luck based depending on the map and depending on how they bounce off of you, you're still only going to get about 6,000, maybe 6,500, 7,000 damage in total from this move, and it's really not that attractive to use a move that is hard to maneuver like that. You don't get much damage from. So honestly, the way I would personally love to see this move be changed is maybe make it a one-hit explosion. I know in the anime with GT, Nova Shenron, he does it for quite a while, just like they tried to do with this move in the game. But if they were to do it to where the first hit initially does the explosion right away that happens at the end, and say it does like 8,000 damage or 8,500 damage, this move would be so much more appealing and so much more usable, and it wouldn't be extremely OP like it was at the beginning of the game. Because at the beginning of the game, each and every single hit you did so much damage, and it was not hard at all to keep your opponent in it the whole time. Now since they've nerfed it, it really has not become that usable of a move. You have not seen it at all really ever since the nerf happened with this move. So I'll definitely like to see them change it, maybe in the way to where it is just a one-hit explosion. Once you hit your opponent immediately, say after a stamina break or something like that, they will explode with you, and it does somewhere around like 8,000, 8,500 damage. That would definitely make that move a lot more usable, and I could see a lot more people actually going to it if they did that. But those are we're halfway through the strike ults. We still have 2 more to go before we get into the ki ults. Alright, the next skill we're going to talk about is one that I've talked about multiple times in these type of videos since the game has released, and that is Spirit Sword. Now don't get me wrong, they have improved Spirit Sword since the game released, because at first, once you got stuck with this sword and you reared back, your opponent was able to snap banish away and not take any damage at all. That is no longer the case, but the major issue with this move now is the fact that the second swipe is not guaranteed. You have to be at the right angle, at the right spot on the map for that second slash of Spirit Sword to hit. So honestly, this move, the only thing that it really needs is to buff it to where that second hit is guaranteed and it lands all the time. Because if it doesn't, you're really spending 4 key bars for only 6,000 damage. That is really not that great at all. It doesn't make the move that good in any way. But when that second slash does hit and you get that 8,800, that makes it so much better. 2,700 damage is definitely a big deal. So the only buff this move really needs is the fact that the second slash hits consistently, and then I will be completely happy, and I would definitely be using this move a lot more because it's one of my favorites ever from the anime, period. Alright guys, last strike ult that I want to talk about is Impulse Slash. This is a move that to me needs 2 buffs. The first one is at that point right there, right before the key blasts are thrown, you are able to vanish that. You should not be able to vanish that if that happens. I think all strike ults should not be vanishable once you get caught in them, just like key ults are. If you get caught by a super Kamehameha, the only thing you can do is use an evasive, and it should be the same for strike ultimates as well. Now that's not the major thing that needs to be buffed with this move. This move is very inconsistent, guys. As you see, the first time I got 7,972 damage, the second time I got 6,500, and the third time I got 6,800. This move is very inconsistent, and it's bad enough that your opponent is able to vanish it, but if you do fully land it, at times you can get damage like that. 6,100 compared to 7,972 is a major difference. So to me, this move needs to be patched in 2 ways. One, again, you should not be able to vanish any ultimate really once you get hit by it. I can understand things like Victory Rush, how you can vanish these very last hit, but again, once you get hit by an ult, you should not be able to vanish it, because you cannot vanish basically any key ultimate in the game. Once you are hit in a key ultimate, the only way you can get out is by using an evasive. So the same should be true for moves like Impulse Slash right there and some other key ults. But again, the major patch that needs to come to that move as well to make it more useful and appealing is the fact that all the key blasts need to hit every single time. Some people don't see that it does a decent amount of damage. Honestly, it could do 8,000 depending on your build, up to 10,000 damage. While in base form, the only thing is it is very inconsistent in that regard as well, and barely lands every single hit when you do actually land the move fully. But that is everything for all the strike ults. Now we are going to move on to the key ults, where I have 6 moves that I want to talk about. Alright, finally on to the key ults, guys. The first ult that we're going to talk about is a move that people have been talking about to patch since really the beginning of the game, and that is Gigantic Meteor. Gigantic Meteor is a move that everybody would love to use if it was just a bit faster. If they give it a bit of a speed buff, this move would be one of the more popular ones in the game for CACs without a doubt. Now, there is one guaranteed way to land this move, and that is with Gravity Impact. Basically, you can land any move in the game if you do use Gravity Impact. But at the same time, you don't always want to have to put a super on your build just to land one certain ultimate. So what I think should happen with this move personally, since it does so much damage, I would not mind seeing it become a 5 key bar move if it was faster and actually landable, at least off of a heavy stamina break, because the move does more damage than moves like Final Kamehameha, which is a 5 key bar move, and nobody complains that that move is 5 key bars. Everybody thinks it's okay for it to be 5 key bars. So if this move costs 5 key bars but was actually consistently landable, and you could always land it guaranteed off of a heavy stamina break, I think that would be absolutely amazing, and everybody, for the most part, would definitely love to use this move on their CAC. Alright, the next move we're going to talk about is probably one of the most iconic moves in the history of this show, but it's basically completely useless on this game because of how slow the startup truly is for this move. It's absolutely crazy how long this move takes to launch with Super Spirit Bomb. It is literally unusable. Like, you cannot use this move online. Your opponent will either A, be able to easily evade it, or stamina break you for doing this dumb nonsense because of how long it takes to start up. No matter what you do, you can heavy stamina break them, you can do whatever you want. They will be able to recover no matter what kind of stamina break it is, and snap vanish off to the side before you launch this move due to how slow it is. I have no issue with the damage or anything like that. 10,000 damage for a 3 key bar move is great. I mean, it is the most powerful key in the series of Dragon Ball period, so it would be nice maybe if it cost 5 bars of key and it did some more damage. But at the same time, the major thing that needs to happen with this move is it needs to be faster. This move is literally, again, unusable online. You just can't use it. You're asking to die if you use this move, so I definitely would like to see a speed buff come to Super Spirit Bomb. Alright, the next move on the list is another DLC move. This is the second DLC move on the list, which is pretty sad considering it is DLC that we pay for. But it is Evil Blast. This move is literally, as you guys just saw, you can perfect block it and get away. Now, yes, if you miss the perfect block, it'll do a good amount of damage. It'll do half the amount of damage as it normally would, as you guys saw right there. But you can easily just perfect block this move and sidestep off to the side and take absolutely no damage from it. So if you know about that and you get hit with this, all you gotta do again is perfect block it like that right there and dash off to the side, and it's basically useless for your opponent at that point. So what needs to happen with this move, it does great damage. I have no problem with anything like that. But the fact that you can perfect block it is just dumb. It makes no sense at all. Like, it makes the move literally useless. You can't use it at all online. You're just wasting ki if you do decide to use it. So I would like to see this move get to the point, or get a buff to where if you do get caught in it, you are actually caught in it to the point where you cannot get out. Moving on, guys, the next move on this list is one that people have kind of talked about since the beginning of the game because it was so great in Xenoverse 1, but it's been just in Xenoverse 2, and that is Sphere of Destruction. Now, the damage for this move it's average. 8,000 for 3 bars of ki is not bad at all, do not get me wrong. But the major issue with this move comes in with how slow it is. And I'm not talking about startup time, I'm talking about how slow the sphere actually moves. Look how long this takes to get 2/3 across the map of the World Tournament, the smallest map in the game. It almost took 5 seconds basically to get 2/3 of the way across the map. That is absolutely ridiculous. If you stamina break your opponent and knock him away to land this move immediately afterwards, there is no doubt in my mind they will be able to get up, recover, and then snap vanish off to the side before this move actually lands. So there's 2 buffs that I would really like to see come to this move. The first one is the speed buff of the sphere. The sphere is just way too slow, really useless on most maps because most maps are way bigger than the World Tournament stage. The second buff I would like to see come to it is the damage buff, because it is Beerus' Sphere of Destruction. There's no way it should be weaker than any key sphere ult in the game. At the very least, it should definitely be top 3 in damage when it comes to key sphere ults, which it definitely is not. So I'd like to see the slight damage buff come to it along with a speed boost to make this move more usable and just a great move again like it was in Xenoverse 1. Obviously it won't be OP because you can't spam anything like that in Xenoverse 1, but it would make this move to the point where I would see a lot more people using it online. Moving on, guys, we're finally down to the last 2, and the first one that we're going to talk about out of these 2 is a third DLC move on the list, which is God of Destruction's Menace. This move is just absolutely terrible in every single way, shape, and form. The damage is awful. The use of it is awful. If you use it during a stamina break, by the time you fully use the whole move, your opponent's stamina is basically gonna be fully recovered, because it's not like most ults like a Super Kamehameha or something like that, for example. When you hit your opponent, their stamina recovery gets staggered. It slows down big time. But as opposed to this move, it only slightly constantly hits your opponent to where their stamina recovery every time, every little second they're not getting hit, is recovering like normal, like if they weren't getting touched at all. So not only does this move do basically no damage at all, but it's a terrible move to use during a stamina break, and it's a terrible move to use without a stamina break as well, because all your opponent has to do, if they don't stamina break you in return for using it on them without being stamina broken, all they gotta do is snap vanish to the side and they will not get hit by this move at all. So this move really serves absolutely zero purpose in this game. If anything, I would like to see it become more like Spirit Ball. Spirit Ball is definitely more usable because it's more tight. The way the Spirit Ball goes around you when you get hit by it is very quick, very tight, so it's not as slow and as bad as God of Destruction's Menace, and it definitely needs a damage buff put onto it as well. There's no reason that a DLC move should be this bad. Finally, on to the last move on this list, guys, is one that a lot of people probably wouldn't have expected, but it's Warp Kamehameha. Now, a lot of people don't talk about this move needing a buff or anything like that, but check this. Super Kamehameha does 7,967, while Warp Kamehameha does 7,300 damage. Now, some people may be like, "Cab, but you can use Super Warp Kamehameha off of a knockaway." As you see right there, you can do the same with Super Kamehameha as well. You can hit both ults off of a knockaway, as you see. But for some reason, Warp Kamehameha costs 4 bars of ki, while Super Kamehameha only costs 3. Is that little warp really worth an extra bar of ki if you're getting less damage than Super Kamehameha? It's really not. That's why you've seen through the history of this game, especially towards the beginning, you saw people using Super Kamehameha a lot, and nobody really ever used Warp Kamehameha for the most part because the damage isn't that great, and it costs an extra bar of ki as more than Super Kamehameha, and you get less damage than Super Kamehameha. So without a doubt, I would like to see this move either get a damage buff done to it, or it definitely needs to only cost 3 bars of ki instead of 4, because there's no benefit to Warp Kamehameha. It does less damage. That warp really doesn't help you. It's not like you're going to be able to sneak up on an opponent like you actually would be in the actual anime with this move or anything like that. So I would definitely like to see this move get a slight damage buff or have it only cost 3 bars of ki. But those are all the ultimates that I would love to see have changes done to them come with the DLC 7 with this new update and skill fix. Let me know if you agree with me on a lot of these ultimates, or if there are any other ultimates that I may not have put on this list that you would love to see get a patch when DLC 7 drops with this whole netcode and skill fix and all that we are going to be getting hopefully in the near future. But as always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Until next time, I hope you have a good day. Peace, y'all.